Number 6.
6, this was probably the most difficult person for me to place on the list because she's had so many things happen to her off the competition floor. She's, in some ways, it's similar to a Fikowski and Vellner's situation. So she shows up to the games. I have the wrong thing pulled up here. Yeah, she shows up to the games 2015. Is that right? 2015 was her first year? Yeah, because third, fourth. And then things kind of start falling off the rail for her. And she has, obviously the 2019 season's kind of weird, but she doesn't make it through the cuts. She finishes 21st. She comes in the 2018 games she had to withdraw due to injury. The 2019 games she finished 20th and then 21st last year. So when you look at these three performances on the heels of a third, and a fourth, now we're sitting here wondering, like, well, who is this athlete and what is her real potential in the sport? The other thing is, relative to everyone inside the top 10, she has the least number of wins at the CrossFit Games. She's only won 2 events, Fibonacci Finale, that event that James was talking about earlier, and Heavy DT. But this is the really weird part. In the midst of having bad performances in the last 2 years at the Games, she competed at 8 sanctionals. She won 4 of them. She was second twice to Toomey, and she was third twice, also both to Toomey, and one time Jamie Green beat her before she changed her last name, and one time Carrie Pierce beat her. So she's almost untouchable in these off-season competitions, with the exception of Toomey, who obviously is heading shoulders ahead of everyone else, and yet she's been bad at the Games. Why has she been bad at the Games? Go ahead.
She won the Open 3 times, right, Brian?
And she's a 3-time Open champion. I don't put her. I don't really consider that very relevant, but yes, she's won the Open.
By the way, I disagree with Brian 100% on that. I disagree with Brian.
Can I ask you why you don't? We're attacking him. Can I ask you why you don't consider that the Open that relevant? Because I think it's super relevant, and I just want to hear your insight there.
So, I mean, I'm assuming you're going to say it's relevant because she has to beat 100,000 people to win that award. I don't know. I just don't think that the best athletes in the sport are always really investing in the Open. So, like, for me, my assumption is that the last 5 years or 4 years or so, Tia-Clair Toomey is just doing those workouts as one of her training pieces on that day. And Matt Fraser is doing the same. You disagree?
I disagree, yeah.
And Rich Froning is just casually doing the opening and finishing 10th. And that's the point. He could invest in that and potentially do better, but he's just doing it at the end of a training day, 20 minutes after the announcement's been made, and posting a score and moving on with his training and his life. And I think that there's a lot of people that do that, whereas at the CrossFit Games, if you're following the athletes that are preparing for the Games right now, they are preparing in every single way and focusing every detail of their life to be an optimal physical and competition performance for the CrossFit Games. So your performance at that event trumps any Open performance to me, and it's not even, to me, it's a negligible conversation. But you guys are free to disagree.
No, I just wanted to have you say it because it sounds more legitimate coming from you. Do you think Sarah's an athlete who suffered from like peaking too early because she performed so well in those outside competitions, regionals, the Open, and she performed really well at the Games, but I always thought she had more in her at the Games.
I mean, a lot of people, and I'm one of them, think that like if we could just figure out how to get her to perform at her best performance, that she could be the one to challenge Tia. Like, she seems to have all these things, and it just hasn't come together at the right time in the right way. And to be fair to Tia, even if that was the case, maybe she couldn't challenge her. I don't know. But it seems like she's never been able to get everything dialed in at the right time to show us what her the true limits of her potential are. And that's why it's hard to place her on the list.
I thought she was going to be the next Rich Froning in 2015 or 14, whatever her first year is. She showed up at the Games. I think I even say it in the behind the scenes. She was so dominant. And going back to the Open, I disagree. I don't think it's even relevant what our opinion is of whether people give it their all or not. There is such little room for error in the Open. There is so little room. You take 2800th place in a workout, and you are fucked. And so I think the Open, if you win the Open, you are. I think it's me personally. I think it's tantamount to winning the Games. I really, really do.
No, that's complete. That's totally wrong, dude. How many times has Tia won the Open in the last 5 years?
It doesn't matter. Even the fact that
no, it matters. She's been the fittest. She has not lost a live competition in 5 years, and she's won the Open once. You can't tell me that Sarah winning the Open makes her fitter than her in any of those years.
Well, you could argue it's that Tia didn't try her hardest, or you could say is that she's just not as good at the Open. She's just not as good. I could flip the argument and say that, hey, when you have 100,000 people in there, she can't stay at the top with all of those people. I think that those people are trying their hardest. I don't buy that argument.
There's too
Even
much
if they tell me
variability.
they're not.
You can have the option to redo the workout as many times as you want. You can be cutting reps, range of motions marginally, and they may or may not penalize you for it. There's a lot of different nuances and variables that don't exist in live competition that just it doesn't hold water for me.
I'm not arguing that either. There's tennis that's on clay court, on grass court, and whatever that other third court is, and just like there's competitions with different CrossFit competitions with different variability. I still don't think it takes away from the profound statistical odds and the level of competition in the Open. I think the Open is. Matt, you shut it. Matt Souza just said Brian is on. I don't want to hear your opinion. You just get us people to be on the show.
And to be fair to what you guys are saying, it's a small group of people who have won the Open. Matt and Rich have won a majority of them. For the men, Noah's won one, Dan's won one, and maybe there was one other person. Like it's really hard to win the Open. So I don't want to take that away from her. I just don't think that it's one of the things that I'm factoring in here when I'm comparing her to the other women on this list.
Okay. Huh? That's cool. That's all I got.
Sarah, we all agree you're good. We want to see you do better.